Hi there and welcome to My Week. I'm Christy McDonald. Hope you're enjoying all of that snow and cold. And now that we got that complaining out of the way, let's complain about two other things, roads and taxes. The two combined in Lansing this past week. We're going to take a look at the Senate bill to raise the gas tax to fix the roads and if this is the right solution. Plus, one lawmaker's fight to change how electoral college votes are counted in Michigan. We'd be one of the only states across the country to do this. Also, the impact of President Obama's big announcement on immigration reform. And The Daily Show takes on water shutoffs in Detroit with the help of Nolan Finley. You'll see what happened there. It's all coming up on My Week. But let's start with those roads. Last Thursday, the Senate passed a bill that would raise the gas tax on the wholesale price of gasoline. And that percentage would increase over the next 4 years from a 9.5% to 15.5%. At current rates, we'd be looking at a 25-cent increase in April and 40 cents 4 years from now. This would make Michigan have the highest gas tax in the country, but would raise anywhere from $750 million to $1.5 billion. State House members are already studying the bill, and we will start our discussion there with our My Week contributors, Nolan Finley of the Detroit News and Stephen Henderson of the Detroit Free Press. Hey guys, it's always good to see you.
Good to see you.
And I want to say cheers with our new My Week mugs. How about that, huh?
How about that?
Are these on sale? Well, they could be with a tote
PBS,
bag,
right?
perhaps. Perhaps we'll have to make that a pledge drive sort of thing.
You write a big check, we stick a John Denver cassette right in there, mail it off.
Right?
We got a warehouse of those cassettes. You put them right in there and send them out to your house.
All right, with all the great weather that we've had this week, it brings us to thinking about our roads again. And the Senate is one step ahead of us because last week they brought up the idea of having a gas tax. So where are we in terms of traction, Stephen?
Well, I mean, that's a big step, right? It's saying we do need more money. This is one way to get it. I'm not sure it's the best way to get it, and I think there are some other things that probably need to be discussed about truck weights. Charging some of these big giant trucks who trundle through our roads all the time. Registration fees. This would be a very high tax, and I think there's going to be some pushback against that because, one of the things that comes up is, well, if we're paying this much tax, then are we getting all of our value out of that? I mean, there's still a question about how much we pay for roads as it is and the condition of them. But this is a step in the right direction, and we'll see where it goes from here.
But I wrote a column about last week about, with gas prices this low, it would be a good time to tack on an extra 17 cents.
But you can't really count. You can't count on the gas and the gas prices on staying this low forever.
But this wholesale change they're making is levels it out a little bit. But I got hammered. I really question whether this is going to go through the House even on the lame duck because there is absolutely no trust amongst the voters, amongst the residents of Michigan, that the money they're spending, that they're getting the value from. And I think they need to do a really good explanation, really good selling job before they even attempt this. I don't see the representatives biting, giving the pushback I'm seeing out there. We've got to answer the questions, as Steve said, about truck rates. Got to tell people why the sales tax that's on gasoline isn't going to roads, because people keep bringing that up over and over. And you have to answer that question with the 5th highest gas taxes in the country. Why isn't there enough money? So I think you've got to really address a comprehensive package here that takes on everything from prevailing wage to what we do with the sales tax dollars and how we replace those.
I mean, one of the big problems is you have states around us that spend less and get better results.
Almost every one.
So somebody, I don't think anybody knows, or at least no one in Michigan seems to know. And so I think, at some point, legislators and the governor will be called on to answer that question. Are we getting what we can get out of the money that we're spending? Everyone sort of seems to agree that it's not enough. We do need more. But you also need to make sure that when we fix I-75 and close it down for 6 months through the city and all that stuff, that a year later there aren't giant potholes in the middle of it.
And that's what Reader's been telling me all week. Look, you've got to improve standards, and I don't know whether our standards are different. I don't know really whether our truck weights make a difference. But I think before they're going to get approval for this, they're going to have to explain all that, and they're going to have to sell the people on it, because as much as people hate these roads, they hate the idea of paying more in taxes, a lot more.
So is the Senate bill then strictly a conversation starter? That what we see there will not be the perhaps the final roads package? And is a sales tax, state sales tax, is that out of the question?
I don't think anything's out of the question. I do think it's a conversation starter. In some ways, it puts a concrete idea in the House for them to debate and either pass, in the same way, or change and send back. I don't think this is the final version that we'll see, partially because this is not even enough. I mean, if you're going to do this, you still have to raise some more money somewhere else. Are you going to raise those registration fees? Are you going to increase the toll that you're putting on these trucks who are coming through the state? It's got to be a more comprehensive package. But again, this starts us on that road.
And I think we've been talking about this need for 2 or 3 years now. The governor's been pitching it and still hasn't sold it, still hasn't made the case. He stood up before the people several times and said, well, your car repair bills, your tire bills, all of that are high because of these potholes. Our job competitiveness is low because of them, and that's all right. But he hasn't taken head on the objections people have to raising more revenue for roads. And until you explain that, and he's got very little time to do it, because if it doesn't get done in the lame duck, I do not believe this new legislature is going to take it on.
That's what I was going to say, because this is something that he talked about that that we can't get done in lame duck. But when you're talking about now, this starts the conversation, and these are the the information that people need, or the sell job. That takes a long time, and then it leads people to frustration of, okay, well, we've known that the roads have been bad for quite a while. Why is this the conversation starter in November?
In November, it's because that's what we could get done. I mean, nobody wanted to deal with this in the spring because there was an election coming up, and everyone was afraid that, I will get some sort of pushback at the ballot box if I raise taxes. That's part of the sort of poisonous electoral environment we live in, where people will say across the board, I want this to be better. I want schools to be better. I want roads to be better. But they won't say they will pay more to do that. And so it does put politicians, I think, in a somewhat odd position where they're trying to address the things that people say are important, but they can't raise any revenue to do it.
I mean, people don't believe their money's being spent efficiently.
And that is a huge problem. That is a huge problem then, if you have that people have total mistrust of what their government is doing and how they're running it and what kind of funding that they're allocating it. That to me is an even larger topic to
across
talk
the board,
about.
though.
It is across the board, and some of it's legitimate, some of it is very cynical, though. The idea, there's an idea that public employees ought to work for pennies, which is absurd, and no health care or no retirement. Well, I don't want somebody like that teaching my child in a classroom. There's this idea that we can get pristine roads for no money. We haven't raised the gas tax since the late 90s.
But there's also a callousness on the part of government, and every day people are reading stories about waste here and waste there, and somebody pocketed this amount of my money, and that's cumulative. That builds up that mistrust. And I think these local communities in the states, which do a much better job of spending your taxpayer money than the federal government does, because they're closer to the people. I mean, the federal government does a lot of damage with its sort of cavalier attitude about how it spends our money.